Oh my Lord, it's cold.
Let's see how cold it is. Ooh, it is 20 degrees.
A balmy 20 degrees here in Park City with snowflakes falling somehow directly into my eyeballs.
Yeah, these aren't flakes. These are like snow daggers.
Snow pellets raining down on us. The ground is slippery with lots of brown, mushy snow. Yeah, this is not a great day for a podcast where we go walking.
We don't just walk, we also dock.
And we are docking the walk right now.
Well, I'm wondering, what if we docked but didn't walk?
Why don't we try to find a quiet corner inside somewhere, preferably with drinks and snacks.
Okay, now you're talking. I'm sorry, now you're docking.
On your left.
You're listening to Dock Walks with Ben and Keith.
We are not walking, we are sitting.
This is welcome to Dock Sits. We have stopped walking and planted ourselves in some comfy chairs because it is cold as hell outside.
It's miserable. It's freezing. Everything's covered in snow. It's actively snowing a lot.
It's like slap in your face, wet spit snow, and what, about 15 degrees maybe?
I would say it's more like 9. But it feels like -10 to a guy from Austin, Texas, not used to this.
Yeah, so anyway, we found refuge in a little secret room just off Main Street.
Yeah, and today we're talking to Diane Quon, who is a producer, Academy Award
nominee, Diane Quon, producer of Minding the Gap.
Who's here with her new film, Third Act.
Yeah, and she's an executive producer on that one. They're making their world premiere, I think, tomorrow. And Diane is a friend of mine and somebody I've worked with. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But weirdly, I've never met her in person. We've only met each other on Zoom. And so I'm excited to meet her. I'm excited for you to meet her. She's great.
Awesome. You're much better on Zoom, so we'll see how this goes.
Oh, yeah. Live and in person with Diane Quon.
Hi, Diane.
It's great. So you ended up getting this, or you were always here?
No.
This is very different. We are normally walking and talking, and that's the whole idea of the podcast.
Yeah.
But it is freezing cold. You even have snow inside
I
your
know.
glasses,
I can't. I was like, just,
which is why we're doing this
me.
inside.
when Keith first said we're gonna walk and talk, I go, okay. I'll try to not
We were
slip.
going to sit in the warmth. Is what
Yeah,
we're gonna do.
thank you.
Yeah.
Here,
I
come
just-
sit.
I can't imagine me being. I already am hard at being coherent, so then also walking at the same time.
Well, you live in Chicago, so you're not
I know, but
you're unaccustomed to this.
I lived 17 years in LA, and the last 2 years in San Francisco.
Okay.
So I
your
became
blood is
thin skinned. I always was, actually. That's why I left Chicago.
I took a look through the program and saw that you had Third Act here.
Yeah.
I knew that, one, we're long overdue for just meeting in person.
Yeah.
So that was one of my top things to do, and I knew I wanted to talk to you and hear what's going on because I have loved getting to know you the last couple of years
Yeah,
and
same.
breaking the news
Yeah.
together.
Did you know we just got the GLAAD nomination?
I just heard that yesterday. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
It's kind of what I needed to hear. They told us like 3 days ago, and I had just made the mistake of turning on the news, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
And then I got the email from Alex Schmitter, who's works for GLAAD, and it was like, oh, that's such a, just reminds me of why we do stuff we do.
What is the award?
Best Doc. It's a nomination. Like there's 10, I think, in the category.
Okay.
And this year, the focus is on the trans community. So it's mostly, they've tried to look for everything from docs to podcasts, just different where there is some kind of focus on the trans community. So the special in Breaking the News, it says in the thing really honoring like Kate.
Yeah.
As the character that they're admiring in the film. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Great. Congratulations.
So anyway, what I was saying is, Breaking the News was an incredible project to work on together, and to get to see Diane in action. And that film played Independent Lens last year and has just been nominated for a GLAAD award, as Diane mentioned, which is awesome. But we also know Diane's work on Minding the Gap, and
Which is a fabulous movie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
and on Bad Acts,
Yeah.
which is, taking, I thought was so bold, figuring out how to make a film during COVID.
Yeah.
And telling a story that really got a chance to kind of break through. And even though it's about a very specific place and
and
very
time.
specific family,
Yeah.
it has such universal themes that like we were all kind of confronted with
Yeah.
during COVID and beyond. And now you're here with Third Act.
Right.
And so I don't know a lot about it. We don't have tickets. We didn't get screeners. We don't know anything about the films that are playing here.
After. Yeah.
But we wanted to talk to you about your role as a producer. We wanted to talk, so many times at these festivals and in our media, we're directors, people focus on the directors, but we work with great producers. And, I love hearing from somebody who has the kind of the breadth of experience you have. Talk about what you love about being a producer and what people miss maybe about, what it is you're really up to,
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
I actually came into producing late, just 10 years ago. Sundance, my first Sundance was 2013. And it was that year I thought, well, I would love to try. And then 2016, I actually started working on dogs. So it's not that long. So I was older coming into it and I was thinking, what do I want to leave, for my grandkids one day? And I feel like with film, it actually, you can put work into it on something you love, and then you actually have something that comes out of it. And like, how cool is that to have that opportunity? I'm not a writer. I can't write a book. I can't do that. But I can help a movie get made that I care about, an issue or an idea or a story that I really care about. So I think that's what's so special about being a producer is being able to make this vision come to life and then have it last, hopefully, forever. I mean, maybe one person only sees it, but that's okay too. It's still there. But, of course, my goal is hopefully as many people can see it and appreciate it over the years.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what is it that made you come to documentary late in life?
Well, all my background is in marketing. I worked at NBC and then Paramount for 12 years, and I was vice president of marketing. And I loved that job, but I marketed a lot of bad movies. And I remember thinking when I started, I always had wanted to make my own films. I didn't know directing, producing, what role. I just thought, growing up in Chicago, my parents owned a Chinese restaurant. I had no clue how it worked. So I got my MBA and thought I would just come in on the business end. So I did marketing. Then I also have 4 kids. And I thought, well, when they're older, maybe I'll pursue that dream to make my own film, whether it's directing, producing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we moved to Chicago, where I'm from, because I was developing some health problems. Then when my son graduated and my youngest was about to go to college, I lost my son.
Oh, Diane, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And that's 16 years ago. And it changed my life forever. And so I making a movie is the last thing I wanted to do. And for maybe 4 or 5 years, never, except for taking care of my daughters, didn't really want to get out. And one of my best friends said to me, I know you love film. I went to Sundance last year. Will you come with me?
So your friend invited you to Sundance, and what did you say?
I can't go. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. And that first movie we saw was a documentary. And I had always thought when I produced it would be fiction because Paramount and NBC. But the documentary just touched me in a way that you can tell something so entertaining but come out changed. And hopefully start a conversation or learn something new about someone or someplace that you didn't know anything about. So I went home and thought, well, maybe this is something I can do. So I Googled documentaries and found Quon in Chicago, who happened to produce Steve James' film Hoop Dreams, and go, whoa. I contacted them. Do you need volunteers? They said no. So I went to try 7 classes, and one of the classes was documentary, and you had to make your own short. So I made a little short, directed it, produced it, which was a great learning experience, and really taught me I don't want to direct. You really come to understand where are your strengths. And I think marketing really lends itself to being a producer.
So that's around the time you met Bing,
You were both at Quon.
Yeah.
and you started making Minding the Gap.
He had already shot most of it, but is looking for the story. And I met him at Quon, and I was like, I've never produced, but if you're willing to take a chance, I would love to do this with you. he was a one-man show, and we said, let's do it.
When was that?
That was 2016, and then we got into Sundance 2018. And I remember thinking, this is why Sundance is such a special place. It was like full circle. It's where I saw my first documentary, and then my first documentary was accepted here. And then we got nominated for an Oscar the following year. And I remember thinking, how the hell did this happen? But in many ways, I'm very spiritual. You know, I feel like my son's with me all the time. Just say, Mom, you can do it. And I also feel that, like, God gave me like a good one to start because he knew I was older. So I'm going to give you a head start with a good one, because it allowed me to meet so many great people, so many kind people who were willing to meet with me. And because it did so well, I got to meet a lot of buyers. You know, Hulu bought the film along with POV. Along the awards campaign, I met so many filmmakers, some that I ended up working with now, you know, and met agents. It just opened up all these doors. I don't think if it wasn't so successful for the first film, it'd take me a lot longer. And I think that's why I work with so many first-time filmmakers. So
We're here at Sundance, and you are here with the film.
Mm-hmm.
So you are taking meetings, I assume, and you are probably looking for distribution if you don't already have it. So you're, you know, as a producer, I'm
Right.
sure you're very familiar with the sort of state of the doc landscape.
yeah, Keith and I have talked about this before. I mean, it is tough. Luckily for Third Act, and I say lucky because I really do appreciate PBS and what they offer, especially to documentaries that aren't necessarily, I think they call it the 3 C's, celebrities, crime, and I forgot the third C. Cults, that's it, cults. You know, so Tad's film, so I'm the EP on the film. We did get funding from ITVS, so we will be on Indie Lens. So we know at least people will see it through that platform. We do have a sales agent, which was so meaningful to me too, because on top of distribution, a lot of sales agents, just being realistic, they know that if some rights are sold, it's hard to sell it.
And is ITVS and Independent Lens Lowest taking streaming as well as TV at this point?
Yeah, I think like a portion, like Windows. So, you know, so there, along with the broadcast, there is a streaming window that they have access to.
Okay.
So that is something that I dealt with also for Minding the Gap. We were ITVS funded too, and then we were able to make it work with Hulu. And, you know, I always try to think positive and think like maybe we can make something happen. I don't think it's the same kind of deal because streaming has just changed so much in these last years where they don't necessarily, you know, like I said, one films about social issues. So it is a challenge, but hopefully there's still opportunity. You see it every once in a while where documentaries that are not the 3 C's are able to break out. And I guess the only way I can do is to stay positive and keep trying and knocking on doors and knowing we'll get no's, a lot of no's, but not giving up.
Right. You know what I can't believe we didn't follow up and ask you about is what was that film that you saw at Sundance that made you want to make documentaries?
It was 20 Feet from Stardom.
Oh.
And I tell Morgan and Neville this. So I was so naive. I wrote him an email and, hi, I'm Diane Quon. I'd like to make docs. Any advice? So naive. But he wrote me back. He actually emailed me back.
And what did he say to you in that email?
He says, you know, find a good story. And I can't even remember the rest. And good luck, probably. But
Don't do it.
but very positive and encouraging. You know, just like it was a dream for me. I feel like it's people's dreams. They got to try at least. Yeah, encourage them to try. And Third Act, which is tomorrow, I'm the EP, and I just, again, it's like another story that means so much to me. And it's a father-son story. 2 filmmakers. The father is a filmmaker from years and years. He's known as the godfather of Asian media. And his son started making films and wanted to do a biopic of him. But in the middle of it, he's diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I think because of that, the film really changed. And his father really has become so vulnerable and wants to share his story now with Tad. He was at the camps back in the 1940s, yeah. And they come to understand each other that you wouldn't have if they didn't make that film together. Because sometimes something about film allows you to share things you'd necessarily say to your dad. So that's tomorrow, and he's here. He's 88 years old.
If somebody sent you the same kind of email that you sent to Morgan Neville, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say if you're going to do this and you're going to approach someone, which I made the mistake of not really having my story. I kind of had a story, but I didn't really think it through, is really to have your pitch together about what this story is. And when you think about story, is back to what I said, it has to be a story that we haven't heard before.
Yeah.
People just get so caught up with the idea or the issue, they don't think about that. So that's what I try to encourage filmmakers, is to think of what is that story that's unique. And also, again, like I said, don't necessarily lead with the social issue, because we're trying to start a conversation. So if we can start with the story, that's why we're doing film. Otherwise, we can choose to do it a different way, but we're choosing to put it on the screen. And then maybe they'll hear that social issue
Yeah.
hidden in it.
So you're going to go back out into the cold and wet Sundance Day.
Yes.
You're the subject of your doc is coming tomorrow, so that's going to be such a great celebration.
After tomorrow, we'll totally enjoy it. But I can't wait to the premiere. There's nothing like showing the film for the first time to audience, don't you think?
Incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, that's why we do it, right?
Yeah.
For that moment.
Yeah, because there's just nothing like that experience.
There's nothing like being in the room.
Yeah, this is it. Thank you so much. Thank you
It's a
for,
pleasure.
yeah.
Thank you for telling us your story and sharing your time
Thank
with
you.
us.
Yeah.
We're actually going to do another podcast. I think I've done one,
Wow.
but I'm really not very articulate, so that's
Oh,
why.
yeah.
Well, we feel honored. Thank you so much. You were great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we're walking away from Diane Quon. We're outside again, and I'm feeling moved emotionally from that interview. That was really beautiful, and I'm super grateful that we got a chance to talk to her.
I think Diane is the best, and she told us a lot, and there's so much to take from it, but I think the two things that are my biggest takeaways are, you don't have to start making films as a 22-year-old to have an exciting and successful career. You can have lived experience, you can come from other areas and bring what you know about life to filmmaking and make a mark right out of the gate, which she did with Minding the Gap. And then I think my second takeaway is that she started out by reaching out to a filmmaker that inspired her, Morgan Neville. And she sat down and she wrote an email, and she says herself, it wasn't the most deeply thought through email, but she asked for advice. And Morgan, who, I don't know well, but for everything I do know, seems to be the nicest guy in America.
Yeah, it's amazing that he wrote her back and had such inspirational, aspirational words for her.
Yeah.
And a guy who's that busy, who's winning Academy Awards and working with celebrities, you would think would not take the time to do that.
Yeah. It spurs on a topic I want to cover on one of our future episodes, which is about advice, seeking advice, giving advice, mentorship, notes. So much of what this podcast is about, I think, is,
We hope.
is building and reflecting community. I mean, that's what makes documentary such a wonderful space to work in, is the community.
Yep.
And I love that Diane kind of kicked off her first efforts by relying on community and kind of creating a little community between her and Morgan.
Absolutely. And to bring it back to Sundance, that's what this feels like. It's like a community that for a long time I was sort of refusing to join, and
That's
was
right.
there all along.
Ben Sherman's march through Park City, it seems like it's been a success.
I would say so. And thank you to the great Ross McElwee for the inspiration for Sherman's March. Thank you to everybody here at Sundance. Thank you to Diane Quon. And thank you to you.
I was going to say, where do I fit into all this? Thank you to you, Ben, or else I would have come here all alone and lonely and sad, and I would have stood off to the side at the parties,
Oh, Keith.
which I still did a little of, but much less because you were here.
So you're still a little sad.
I mean, that's kind of baked in. That's like a
Okay, good. Well, my work here is
layer in the 7-layer dip that is.
of sadness.
No, it's one layer.
Oh, one layer. Okay.
one layer.
So there's sour cream and cheddar cheese and sadness.
I'm glad we're going to edit out the nacho references across the board as a rule.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up. So I'm excited that this was exciting. I'm excited that this was exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting that you're excited.
Taking what we've learned here in this community in Park City, going back to our own community of Austin, Texas. Let's pick up this conversation back home.
All right. Let's do it. Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Doc Walks is created, produced, and edited by my friend Ben Steinbauer of The Bear.
Hello. And my friend Keith Maitland of Go Valley.
Thanks for tuning in.
Follow us at DocWalksPod on Instagram, X, and YouTube.